Ever feel like you're doing all the right things and still wondering why your body feels off? You eat well, you train hard, your labs say you're fine, but deep down you know something's slipping. You're not alone and you're not crazy. I'm Daniel Rasmussen, founder of Echelon Center for Longevity, and I've spent 2 decades helping high performers like you to reverse aging, reignite vitality, and finally get answers. On Unbreakable Vitality, we go upstream. We talk peptides, stem cells, precision diagnostic testing, reversing the age of your arteries, all the innovative science-based tools to take back your health span so that your next decades are your best yet. Because aging is real, but decline is optional. All right, welcome back to Unbreakable Vitality. I'm Daniel Rasmussen, and if you're here, it means you're ready to take ownership of your health, longevity, and performance. So the last episode, we dove deep into the heart threat scan and how it detects early vascular damage and gives us a measurable way to see your true arterial age years before conventional tests ever would. Today, we're putting that science into action. So in this episode, I want to take you behind the scenes of a real patient journey. Someone who came to us feeling fine on the surface, but whose testing revealed a hidden path toward decline. And together, we reversed it. We're going to walk through each step, what we found, what we changed, and how he turned the clock back 12 years on his vascular age. Because stories like this aren't the exception anymore. They're what happens when you test smarter, personalize deeper, and actually measure your results. So what we found when David came in, he's a 52-year-old high performer, entrepreneur. He's married, father of 2, and by all outward appearances, doing great. He's the kind of guy who tracks his steps, eats well, gets his annual physical, and even throws in the occasional cold plunge, right? But he came to me with one of the most powerful diagnostic tools of all, intuition. Something just felt off. He couldn't quite name it. A little more fatigue, slightly longer recovery from workouts, not sleeping quite as soundly as he used to. Nothing major, nothing his primary doctor thought was concerning. And yet there it was, a quiet, nagging feeling that something might be starting under the surface. Part of it was personal. In the back of his mind, David remembered that his dad had a heart attack at 55. No prior warning, no symptoms. Just dropped one day while golfing. David was now 52, and he couldn't shake the thought that maybe he was on the same timeline. His conventional labs had come back totally normal. Cholesterol, pretty good. Blood pressure, great. Fasting glucose within the normal range. His doctor basically said he was healthy. But David wasn't here for reassurance. He was here for clarity. So we ran a heart threat scan, and what it revealed was exactly what most people never see until it's too late. There was an early soft plaque forming in his carotid arteries. His intima media thickness, a measurement of arterial wall thickening from plaque, was significantly elevated. His vascular age was 7 years older than his chronological age. And that was the moment his intuition was validated. He wasn't crazy. His instincts were sharp. And he now had a tangible, measurable marker that said, hey, pay attention, wake up. David was confused at first. How could everything else look normal and still miss this? But he was also curious. He wanted to understand what was happening, what it meant, and what he could do about it. That's when we moved forward with our full diagnostic workup, comprehensive. And what we found next pulled back the curtain on the truth behind his trajectory. So David's heart threat scan was just the beginning. And once we had that initial red flag, we ran our full upstream diagnostic protocol, what we call the Echelon longevity stack. First up was true age biological age test, one of the most powerful indicators of how fast someone is aging at a cellular level. This isn't a basic calculator. True age analyzes epigenetic markers, specifically DNA methylation patterns, to determine your biological age, the age your body is behaving like, not the one on your birth certificate. It's highly validated, peer-reviewed, and it's used in many longevity clinics worldwide as a gold standard. So David's results, he was aging biologically about 9 years faster than his chronological age. So next came our advanced functional longevity blood panel that includes over 40 biomarkers that are advanced and specifically selected to detect subtle dysfunctions and early signs of accelerated aging. This panel is far more comprehensive than what you'll find at a conventional doctor's office and even cardiologists. Way out more advanced. It includes markers, just as a few example, oxidized LDL, ApoB and ApoB ratios to assess arterial inflammation and lipid damage, homocysteine and MMP9 to detect endothelial stress and plaque instability, TMAO, short for trimethylene N-oxide, a compound produced when the gut bacteria metabolize certain nutrients like choline and carnitine, which are found in red meat and eggs. Elevated levels of TMAO have been linked to increased risk of atherosclerosis and heart attack and stroke. It's a direct link between your microbiome and your cardiovascular risk. Vitamin D, B12, red blood cell magnesium, folate, all to reveal deficiencies that affect mitochondrial energy, DNA repair, and detox capacity. We also looked at fibrinogen, CRP, and LPA, early detectors of clotting risk and systemic inflammation. David's labs revealed elevated oxidized LDL and insulin resistance, suboptimal testosterone, despite normal cholesterol and fasting glucose. Then we ran the GI map test. So this is a stool test where things got even more interesting. Now, most people hear stool test and think it's just about checking for parasites or bacteria. But GI map is a DNA-based test that identifies the genetic signatures of over 50 different gut microbes, and good, bad, and neutral. It also gives us detailed biomarkers for gut inflammation, such as calprotectin, zonulin, digestive enzyme activity, like elastase, immune activity, secretory IgA, mucosal barrier function. Why does this matter? Because gut health is the foundation of everything. Vascular inflammation, brain health, hormonal balance, and immune function. 80% of your immune system starts in the gut. So here's the big picture. When your gut barrier is damaged, what's commonly referred to as leaky gut, toxins, food proteins, and microbes can leak literally into the bloodstream, triggering chronic low-grade inflammation. And that inflammation doesn't stay isolated to your gut. It affects your blood vessels, your brain, your hormone signaling, and your immune system. It's a known contributor to endothelial dysfunction, the very first step in that vascular aging we spoke about earlier. And David had dysbiosis, elevated calprotectin, and low secretory IgA, meaning his gut was inflamed, his immune system was under strain, and his vascular system was being affected from the inside out. We also ran a salivary hormone and cortisol rhythm panel, which is another level beyond standard blood testing. Instead of one snapshot in time, we get a 4-point map of cortisol over the course of a full day. And it showed how David's body was handling stress, energy, and his circadian rhythm alignment. His results revealed a flattened cortisol curve, low DHEA, and mild estrogen dominance, which helped explain his fatigue, his mood swings, and his slower recovery, and even a little bit of weight gain. All of this data gave us the map. David didn't just have one issue. He had a cluster of subtle dysfunctions that were quietly compounding beneath the surface. The emotional impact? It was a mix of validation and motivation. David was relieved to finally have answers, and he was empowered to take action before those numbers became an actual disease diagnosis. So David's personalized program was built on his diagnostic data, not guesswork, not a one-size-fits-all, not a cookie-cutter approach. We started with a peptide stack, specifically selected for endothelial repair and mitochondrial rejuvenation. And these peptides support blood vessel integrity, boost nitric oxide production, and help restore cellular energy at the mitochondrial level. So this is true cellular health. This is critical for both heart health and cognitive vitality. So next, we created a precision nutrition plan based on his Cyrex AirA10 results. This test identified delayed immune reactions to dozens of foods he thought were healthy. So removing those silent triggers reduced systemic inflammation almost immediately. We didn't stop at just testosterone optimization either. We addressed the full hormonal orchestra, insulin sensitivity through blood sugar stabilizing compounds, cortisol balance via adaptogens and sleep protocols, thyroid support to address borderline sluggishness in the thyroid and the liver conversion, growth hormone precursors to assist regeneration and lean mass preservation. And then came the game changers. We initiated IV ozone therapy, which works by introducing a carefully controlled concentration of medical grade ozone into the bloodstream. And this stimulates redox signaling, increases oxygen delivery, and jumpstarts the body's own antioxidant and immune repair systems. So for David, this translated into faster healing, reduced brain fog, renewed energy. He also began a targeted nutraceutical stack protocol, not over-the-counter supplements, but clinical-grade formulations designed to fill specific deficiencies and support mitochondrial, vascular, and immune resilience. And resilience is key. We're going to talk about that later. So to top it off, we introduced cord blood plasma infusions, rich in placental tissue-derived growth factors. These help reprogram cellular aging patterns and promote a systemic regeneration at a foundational level. We supported all of this with guided circadian rhythm syncing, sleep architecture, coaching, stress resilience training, because none of it works without rest and regulation. And then finally, we focused on what we call our fitness at 50 benchmarks: strength, mobility, and muscle preservation. We tested David's grip strength, deadlift capacity, and mobility markers, all of which are scientifically tied to longevity. Studies show that lower grip strength in midlife is associated with a higher risk of mortality and cognitive decline. These are powerful predictors, not just fitness trivia. So we focused on reversing sarcopenia, basically, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass and function. Sarcopenia doesn't just make you feel weaker or weaker. It's one of the strongest predictors of frailty, fall risk, and metabolic decline as you age. So our goal was not just to vascular repair, but full systemic restoration, from the cells in his arteries to the muscle fibers that keep him strong, vital, and independent. This wasn't just a plan, it was a biological reboot. Once David's program was underway, we tracked every variable that mattered, because what gets measured gets mastered. So at the 3-month mark, the changes were already noticeable. David's energy was consistent throughout the day. Stamina just locked in. He was falling asleep faster, staying asleep longer, and waking up clear-headed, energized for the first time in years. He told us, "It feels like my brain finally has its battery back." His grip strength had improved. His mood was more stable. His confidence in the process had deepened because it wasn't theoretical anymore. It was personal. We retested his labs and found meaningful reductions in key inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, homocysteine, and oxidized LDL. His cortisol rhythm had started to rebalance. Testosterone was trending up again, not from medication, but from supporting his body's own rhythm. Then again, we retested at the 6-month checkpoint. We reran the heart threat scan and the true age. His vascular age had improved by 7 years, and his biological age dropped by 5 years. Measurable proof that his system was regenerating. He also reported better recovery from workouts, sharper cognitive focus at work, and renewed interest in creative and professional projects that had previously taken a backseat to fatigue. By month 12, the transformation was undeniable. Vascular age reversal, 12 years. Biological age reversal, 9 years. Physical vitality was back. Libido was up. Endurance, strength, emotional well-being had it all improved. He felt present, focused, and in charge again, on top of his game. This wasn't just about better lab numbers. This was a man who had shifted from fearing decline and intuitively knowing something was on the horizon to building his future and making his decades. And when David saw those results, the data didn't just give him hope, it gave him ownership. And that's what this work is about, empowering people to not just to extend life, but to elevate it. David's story isn't an outlier either. It's what happens when you take health into your own hands with the right tools and the right team and a willingness to go deeper. First we learned that early detection changes the game. If David had waited until he had symptoms like chest pain or fatigue so severe it interfered with daily life, we might have caught this a bit too late. The heart threat scan showed us the earliest signs of vascular aging decades before his conventional labs ever would have even blinked. And second, we saw that personalization is everything. There was no one-size-fits-all approach here. His protocol was built based on foundations of what his data said, not what worked for someone else's, not what the latest article recommended. It was dialed in for his biology, his needs, and his long-term goals. Third, maybe most important, we saw the power of ownership. David didn't just get better, he got engaged. He stopped outsourcing his health and started driving it. And when you do that, you change not just your numbers, but your identity. You become the healthier version of yourself. So if you're listening and wondering, could that be me? The answer is yes. You don't have to wait for a crisis. You don't have to keep guessing. You don't have to settle for normal when you were built for optimal. This is what's possible when you go upstream. And this is why I created this show. If David's story resonated with you, if part of you is wondering, what would my heart threat scan show? Then don't wait. Take the free vascular age quiz at echelon-longevity.com/quiz. And it's quick, it's eye-opening, and it could be the first step in building a personalized longevity strategy that actually works. Because the goal isn't just to live longer, it's to live stronger, clearer, and on your terms. So start with the truth and let's build it from there. In our next episode, we're going to take a closer look at true age, a little deeper, one of the most advanced biological age tests available. And we're going to unpack what it measures, how it works, and why your biological age matters more than your calendar age. I'm also going to share how we use true age to guide everything from treatment plans to motivation. Because when you see your aging rate drop in real time, it's one of the most powerful mindset shifts there is. So until then, stay proactive, stay informed, and keep building your unbreakable vitality. Let's get into it.
If you're feeling like your energy, your edge, or your clarity just isn't what it used to be, you're not alone. But you're also not stuck. Every week on Unbreakable Vitality, we explore real strategies to reverse aging, reclaim vitality, and rewrite what's possible. If today's episode gave you even one insight, pass it on. Then go take the free vascular age quiz at echelon-longevity.com/quiz to see how your body's aging. Subscribe, leave a review, and follow us because your future isn't on autopilot. You are building it and you're just getting started.